Hey everyone, this is another spoiler review where we're going to spoil everything in this game. We're talking today about David Cage's magnum opus, Detroit Become Human. We're going to hit on a bunch of the story points that I got that you may or may not have gotten, and then talk about a few of the things we like or didn't like about it. I'm here with my girlfriend.
Hey everyone.
We went through this game together and kind of helped each other make decisions and decided what we wanted to do. So, first, we're going to jump into the story, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me. So, to start off, I'm going to go through Marcus's story. For me, Marcus, he was the painter's android. The painter actually died. He got taken to the junkyard, and then I did a completely pacifist run with him. I never attacked anyone or anything. And he ended up freeing all the androids. He became in love with North. Josh survived, but Simon ended up dying. So that's kind of where it left off with him. It said all the androids are free for now. So the second story is Connor's, and throughout Connor's story, I pretty much helped Anderson. Like if it gave me a choice between going to Anderson or the investigation, I chose to help out Anderson to become friends. In the end, Connor for me, I chose for him to become a deviant. Anderson ended up dying by the fake Connor, and then I took over the fake Connor's body and unleashed all the androids. And in the end, Amanda did not take him over when she tried to shoot Marcus. So everything ended happily for him. And finally, I'm going to talk about Kara. For me, I took Alice. I killed her father. We went on to the river with Rose. Luther died crossing the river. Alice also died when I got to the end of the river, but Kara chose to live on and try to fulfill her life. So one of the first things I want to say about this game is I actually did enjoy it, and I wanted to say that because there's a lot of things I want to talk about that I think are wrong or silly with the game. I think it's a very silly game, but it is enjoyable. You liked it, right?
Yeah, it was really entertaining to watch, and it kind of felt like you were in a movie. Even though you were like deciding what kind of paths you wanted to take along the way, it was still really entertaining to see like how your decisions affected like paths that you could unlock and different like scenarios that you could go down with each of the characters. So it's kind of like watching a movie for me, which was really entertaining.
And I haven't played it more than once, but it really did make me feel like a lot of different scenarios could have happened. But okay, the first major thing I want to touch on is imagine you buy this real expensive computer and you turn it on and it's working great, but then it blue screens. So you take it to your backyard and you just smash it with a bat. It sounds stupid, but these people, like for example, Alice's dad obviously has almost no money. He pays for this $8,000 Android and tears it apart. And I get that he's on drugs and it could be just the drugs, but I think that is so silly that this is such a prevalent problem in this world that people are destroying technology that they paid thousands of dollars for. So I think that never really got touched on, but you don't see many people getting mad at their cars and breaking all the windows. So for the first half of this game, I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. I think Marcus, the first half was pretty boring. He wasn't all that fun to be. Connor, throughout the game, I think had a great story. It was engaging. I think he was the most fun to be. He had the best gameplay.
And with Connor, it was also interesting to see because he was an android that, for me as at least, like you weren't rooting for. He was an android that was trying to find other deviants and trying to punish other deviants and threaten them to get confessions. And so, to me, it kind of seemed like he was an android going against his own kind of people, even though there were people that did break down or machines that broke down. But it was really interesting to see his character progress through the entire game, which was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, there like for example, adding on to that, there was one scene where you were Kara hiding in a house and Connor finds you, and it was kind of a cool scene where you're like, do I want to be good with Connor or do I want to be bad? Like you weren't really sure what to do. So that jumping into Kara's story, hers was fairly average. It was fun to watch, but a lot of times it got slow. It was entertaining though for the
Kind of
most part.
silly.
So I thought the choices and stuff were great. I thought that beginning scene was amazing with Connor, where you were trying to stop the deviant, and I think that's why I think Connor's is the best. All these investigations where you have to, it's almost like a better L.A. Noire, where you have to figure out, and things can go so wrong, but if you do it right, then you feel so accomplished and you find out so much about the game. Now, within that, there's some funny moments that happen. Like for example, there's one scene where you're Connor and you're investigating a deviant inside the police station. And in my gameplay, I told them to not keep harassing him because he was just going to kill himself. And then this angry cop pulls a gun on Connor, and then Lieutenant Anderson pulls a gun on the other cop. And it's little silly things that should never happen and would never happen throughout this game like that just are kind of pull you out of it almost.
It just makes you question. You're like, well, is this super realistic, or is just this trying to get like a rouse out of you, sort of?
Yeah. There's also towards the end of the game that kind of relates to this is a scene with Kara where you're sneaking through a bunch of soldiers trying to get to the river. And it's like there's like 5 soldiers right next to you, and you sneak to the next car and they disappear. They're gone. You don't have to worry about them ever again. And it's just silly. Like, you run up and I saved Luther, and I knock out one guard and save Luther, and then we just have a conversation in the middle of the street while there's like
Standing
7
up
guards
next to
behind
fires.
us.
Yeah, it was just not. It didn't work.
It's just more annoying than anything else. Not game breaking, not necessarily bad, just little annoyances like that. Another thing I think was unneeded was the plot twist that Alice was an android. It didn't fit in. It felt unnecessary, and I felt like it was there more for a shock than actually adding value to the game. I wish he had just leaned one way or the other, not tried to make you think she was human and then android. Just pick one.
Another weird thing that I noticed is along the storyline of Marcus. Whenever he started recruiting more and more members of androids to become defiant, he started like getting these superpowers. It went from him having to convince and connect with other androids to convince them to become deviant and tell them that they're free, to them marching peacefully down a street and being able to just reach his hand out and point at someone and they'd become deviant.
I agree. There was just no real reason for that to happen. It just happened because the plot called for it. Another thing I want to bring up is the choice to make Connor deviant or not deviant in the end. I think that should happen throughout the whole game. Like, there's so many choices where you either help Lieutenant Anderson or your investigation, and I feel like throughout the story it should have been gathering this information where, oh, he helped Lieutenant Anderson all these times instead of doing what an android would have done, which is just do the mission he's assigned to. And I feel like depending on your choices there, that should have decided whether or not he became a deviant, because the way they just did it, I feel like that could be completely unrelated to your character. Moving on to the actual problems of the game, because I know those aren't huge problems, they're just little grievances. But I think one major problem this game has that it actually ruined some stuff for me is they try to explain an entire thing you're about to say in one word. For example, Marcus was given a speech, and I think the options were like peaceful and determined, and I thought, oh, I want to like make sure they get this message out there, so I picked determined, and that apparently meant start a war with the humans, which I did not see coming at all. And another example is that was when we were trying to decide what to do to the humans, and there was dialogue or confrontation. And I thought dialogue would just be a little wimpy talk, like kind of send out a message, and I thought confrontation would go out and meet them. But apparently confrontation means get all your guns and go out and get them, which I actually
blow up stuff.
Yeah, I actually had to restart. That's a little bit of cheating, but I restarted and went back and chose dialogue because there was no way I knew that was what was happening. Another problem I think this game has is the good and bad choices are just way too easy to tell.
It's so clear.
Especially with Marcus's story. Like, I feel like there's no moral middle ground. It's like, you want to kill everyone or do you want to not kill everyone?
Like, do you want to march on the street or go and attack and try to kill all the guards?
It's just it doesn't really take advantage of being able to have like a solid middle ground where you're good but you're not amazing. It's just, are you evil or are you great? That being said though, I did enjoy this game. I wouldn't play it again, but I had a fun time playing it. I think it was interesting. I always look forward to these David Cage games, like games like this, like Until Dawn. Not really Beyond Two Souls, but yeah, I like they're fun to play, even if they are silly. But I think that just leaves us to give our conclusions. This has gone on a little bit longer than I wished, but yeah, what did you think about this game? What would you grade it?
I really liked it. Out of 10, I probably.
5 being completely average game. 5 isn't bad, it's just average.
Yeah, I probably. Just because it also wasn't me playing, it was mainly me watching, like, kind of a movie. I would definitely probably rate it an 8. But I'm also not, like, a huge gamer, and it was just really entertaining for me to watch. There were some points where I was really frustrated with it, but it ended up being resolved, and it was just, like, a good storyline. There was some silly things throughout it, but I feel like it was still pretty good.
Yeah, and I this game was fun, but I think with all the problems of the just not really having a choice, a middle ground, it's good or bad, not really being able to tell what all the decisions actually mean, and just all the little silly moments in it. I'd give this game probably a 5, like just average, worth playing.
Harsh, dude.
That's just average. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, I think that really sums it up.
Yeah, I think so. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
All right, thanks for watching, and tell us what you think about this.
Comment down below to let us know how your story ended out. We're really curious to see what all the other options were.
And if you didn't have any of these problems, let us know.